What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to Historical Board Gaming's The Korean War. It is turn 9, and kind of a short turn this turn, so let's get to it. Alright, North Korea, at the beginning of the turn, they collected 41 IPC, plus 3 that they saved, so they had 44. Their purchases this turn, they paid off the 10 damage for both Seoul and for Pyongyang, which took out most of their IPC for the turn. And then in Seoul, they purchased 4 infantry and 3 artillery. The North Koreans did not do any combat this turn. They mainly kept it to non-combat. They moved the majority of their Seoul force over to the west here in Incheon, while moving a mech with some supplies over to Kanong. And other than that, they just kind of, the North Koreans are kind of now just settling in a line right across the country, basically daring the Allies to move against them. Let's see here. It's an odd number turn, so China sat out this turn. Coming down to South Korea, the South Koreans collected 17 IPC again. Once again, I did not put their purchase out. I put part of their purchase out. They bought 5 infantry and 2 supply. Now, I'm not going to find a green right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. All right. 5 infantry and 2 supply. The South Koreans did not attack either. They once again just settled for once again moving troops and supplies up to Andong and Pohang and such. The South Koreans do definitely have a very large contingent of their military, at least of their infantry units, here in Andong now, and they got a steady flow of reinforcements coming north to them. All right, over to the United States. The United States collected 50 this turn. They did save 1. Again, because we're at that point now where it's not really worth buying ground troops. The U.S. put all 51 of their money into just purchasing supplies at Busan. So they bought 51 IPC worth of supplies this turn. Combat. All right, once again, the U.S. took their bomber from Busan and their fighters from Sanju and did a bombing raid on Seoul. They made it through the flak and damaged the factory for 8. And then on the non-combats, the fighters went back. The bomber went back. The 1st Marine Division, with 2 artillery and a tank, arrived in Busan along with another B-29 and a fighter as well. Unfortunate. And then the last elements of the 2nd Infantry Division moved from Busan and met up with their forces here at Waegwon. Unfortunately, there was no supplies here in Waegwon at the beginning, so they were not able to push forward into Sanju. And I just realized I forgot another combat that the Americans did. So once again, the Americans took their artillery from the 25th Infantry Division. And in this game too, tanks can do it too. Tanks can also do a artillery fire into another zone, except tanks only hit on a 1 and not a 2 or less like artillery. So the artillery and 2 tanks did a plunging fire on the North Korean artillery here in Osan. They were able to get the hit, and the rules state that any units that are hit do not get to fire back, so the North Korean artillery was not able to fire back because it was dead. So there was that. And that was pretty much it for the non-combats for the... So that was the rest of the combat, and that was all the non-combat for the for the Americans this turn. Trying to think here. Did I miss anything for the Americans? I don't believe so. All right, let's go over to the UN. All right, the UN had 20 IPC to spend. Same thing as the Americans. They just put all 20 into supplies. Oh, excuse me, guys. Feeling a little stuffed up today. All right, the UN, as you can see, their combat was once again attempting a bombing raid against Pyongyang. Unfortunately, the AAA fire was just too much for the UN forces, and the UN lost their bomber attempting to attack at Pyongyang. So the UN bomber is out. That was their only combat. Their non-combats. They moved more forces and supplies here into Daejeon. That transport with the infantry that was here in Sea Zone 5 came over to Sea Zone 3 and offloaded its one infantry here in Daejeon as well. So the UN is setting up its own little base of operations here in Daejeon, while also bringing in more mech and infantry. And then, yeah, same with the Americans and the UN. They all moved their forces one more space on the zone. So we got that. And I think that is pretty much it for this turn. Excuse me. Let me see. Is there anything else? No. All right. Well, that's going to be it for turn 9, guys. And we're heading into turn 10. So we only got technically 3 more turns to go. It's going to be it will probably be a close one, so you guys will just have to stay tuned and see what happens. So until then, guys, as always, take care.